This is the Milo Beasley Show. This is the Milo Beasley Show. There's only one thing you need to know. This is the Milo Beasley Show. And now, here's your host, Milo Beasley.
And welcome to the Milo Beasley Show. Dude, I am so stoked for our interview tonight, for our guest tonight. So, you may have known him as a psycho cop, but you may well recognize him as possibly the most famous electrician on television. So please help me welcome at this time, Robert Shafer. How are you, man?
Hey, Milo Beasley, that's a catchy little intro you have there. It is the Milo Beasley Show. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Hopefully you're going to be thinking about it all night tonight now.
Yeah. Well, we'll see about that.
So is it Robert or is it Bobby? I know you've been credited as both.
Every possible permutation of that, my family calls me Rob, and when I want to be serious, I call myself Robert, and then when I'm goofing around, I call myself Bobby, and my friends call me B-Ray, and so my favorite nickname was when I was a bartender on Sunset Strip in the 80s, and they named me after a wrestler. And I'm trying to think of, I can't remember his name now. It'll come to me. But it was something, fun.
Right.
The Big Cat. They called me the Big Cat. Ernie the Big Cat Lab was the name of the wrestler,
yes,
and they called me the Big Cat. I'm a big guy.
He was a wrestler. He was also, I think he was on the Dallas Cowboys as well.
Oh, did he play for pro ball? Well, okay.
Yeah. So
makes sense.
Yeah, I mean that was a heck of an athlete. So again, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. Where are you located? Are you up in the northeast section of the country?
Well, I live in West Virginia, my home state. Oh, and by the way, Bob Vance Refrigeration. He's an HVAC guy. He's not necessarily an electrician. Refrigeration, So I thought I could clarify there in defense of Bob Vance.
In defense of Bob Vance. When you auditioned or were cast for Bob Vance, was it supposed to be a one-time thing?
Well, that's what that's all it was when I did it, the first one. But I had a good feeling about it because, the cast was so great. Phyllis, of course, was series regular. So I thought, well, there's a good chance Bob will be back. And of course, that was confirmed in Casino Night, the season ender. So I waited from episode 10 until episode 24 until I got the call. But it was a sweet call, and of course, Casino Night is one of my favorite episodes.
I think I'm losing you here. Okay, I think I got you back. All right. Yeah, so Casino Night was a good episode, and all those episodes they made Bob Vance look like the ultimate male. Like he was such a good guy and just very beloved by the audience, and I think that was really cool. And the way that you were able to bring that out in him. What direction did they give you? What direction did they give you on, or did they just say, "Hey, be yourself"?
No, not yourself. I mean, Bob is an interesting character, really, in many ways. They started to make Bob weird as the series went on.
Right.
There were things. He had sex in a disabled bathroom. Bob's accused of tampering with the grand jury.
That's true.
Beating people up in cars who stare at Phyllis's cleavage, and really played. It was very simple because I was just there.
Lost them.
Tells him, if you ever favorite Phyllis, I'll show you. And that was my favorite line in the show. That's
So I think you're still breaking up a bit. Yeah, you're breaking up. I think we're frozen here. Yeah, that was a dropout. Oh boy. All right, I can see you. I think I can hear you now.
All right, maybe we got it going.
All right, yes, this is way better.
Okay. All right, good.
All right, yeah. So we were talking about the tweaks that they made to Bob Vance from the first time you met him to the very end.
Well, I mean, again, my goal with it was just to have big energy and love Phyllis and protect her from the idiots. So that's all I did. And so, women respond to that, obviously, because Bob is chivalrous. I mean, he's an old school gentleman. He has money. I mean, he pays $1,000 for a hug, which I always called hit Michael with the big boy team. Bob always is flashing money around. He pays for the best party they ever had. Bob put up the carnival on Goodbye Toby. Bob pays for that. Right. So, he's a spender when it comes to Phyllis. So people appreciate that.
This is true. Now, I mean, you got to be a part of a lot of episodes where there were parties, whether it was Casino Night or Goodbye Toby, or you had your television wedding, as well as the finale. So you must have done a lot of good eating on set.
Well, that set was the best food ever. I mean, from craft services were amazing. They were feeding you all day long. Everybody was getting fat on that show, but lunch was always great. There was always fish, great beef dish, and chicken. I mean, 3 choices every meal. And so at the time I was doing. Well, I mean, you get spoiled. I was doing a lot of B movies at the time, and the budgets for the food department always suck. So you get spoiled.
Now, but when you were there doing a lot of those episodes, and there was food on set, there was cake on set, was all that real, and did you partake?
Well, I mean, not the prop food, obviously, but I mean, there's just tremendous amounts of food all day long. I mean, there's craft services is making soup and sandwiches and coming with little treats all the time and making shakes, and so it's just an endless food parade. But there's 150, 200 people working, so they try to keep everybody happy. I mean, it's a big production. I mean, it's a lot of people to feed. We had the same caterers we had the same catering guys the whole time, Sergio and his company, and they were just fantastic.
Oh wow, that's perfect. Keep them there the whole run. Now, did you have to audition for this, or did somebody seek you out for this role particularly?
No, I auditioned for this. I mean, I auditioned and then I did a callback. Are you talking about Bob Vance?
Yeah, for Bob Vance. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a funny story. I've told it several times, but I went to the audition and it was Halloween, and I didn't know it was Halloween. That's how into Halloween I am. But in Halloween in Hollywood is a big deal. So I'm driving there, and it usually takes me 15 minutes, and now it's turned into a slugfest. The freeway's jammed. I'm like, what's with all this traffic? I get into Hollywood. There's no parking. I'm late for the meeting. I'm the last guy of the day, and I finally realize, I see all these freaks in their costume. I'm like, oh, it's Halloween. So I'm the last guy in of the day, and I'm pouring sweat, and I do it twice, and it's Al Jones. She's a great casting director. She does all Ferrell. I mean, she's a big deal. So just being in that office was a good get for me. And I left feeling good. And as I came out, there were these 3 girls dressed as angels, and they all started, hitting me with their wands and doing all this stuff. And I was like, oh, that's a good omen. And 2 weeks later, I had a call back, and I went out to the sound stage where they were filming, and Phyllis was there. And Phyllis made the decision. She chose me, and the next morning I was shooting Bob Vance. So,
oh my gosh, that's great.
It happened. Yeah.
That's great to be handpicked.
Yeah.
By Phyllis. Now, again, you got to experience a wedding on television. What was I guess that was a two-parter. So what were those episodes like? Was it a good fun party atmosphere? Did you have like any like actual wedding feelings where like you were kind of stressed?
I mean, it was a beautiful doing the shooting. First of all, the wedding was at this church, which was about a mile from where I lived. So it was a beautiful shoot. I drove by that church every day on my way to the golf course. And so shooting at that church, I mean, it's the corner of Colfax and Moore Park and Studios. I was studio shooting guy, so shooting at that church was a great treat. And that wedding, I mean, here's a little known fact, is that my mom and dad's names are Bob and Phyllis. So it's Bob and Phyllis all over again. On national TV. Yeah. My dad's name is Bob. My mom's name is Phyllis. Not only is her name is Phyllis Smith, and so was my mom, Phyllis Smith.
Right.
And I said to Phyllis Smith, I said, if your middle name is K, I'm really going to freak out. And she said, well, it's not K. So I said, well, your mom and my mom and you have the same name. So anyway, when I got married, I had a picture of them on their wedding day in my tux. I was all sentimental about it. I mean, it was so much fun. I mean, the kiss, I nailed her. I mean, the direction. I let her have it, and there's big applause, from the crowd, and the direction. The second AD comes running in with direction from Greg Daniels. Could you tell Bob to tone it down on the kiss, just a little bit less? And I said, sure, I could dial it back, because I told the crowd I'm going to nail her. And I let her have it. It was great. It was great fun. But the funny part about it was the screening of the episode, Phyllis's wedding, was held at Greg Daniels' house. So they had a party, and the cast came, and also Harold Ramis showed up. And so I'm a big Harold Ramis fan. Right, great writer, great director, great actor. I mean, Harold Ramis knows funny. Here he is. And he walks up, and the first thing out of his mouth is Bob Vance, Vance Refrigeration. I'm like, hey, Mr. Ramis, that's my lad. So anyway, we watched the episode, and he's sitting there watching it with us, and I'm watching him watch the episode. And when I say to Michael, if you ever lay a finger on Phyllis, I'll kill you. I mean, I nailed it, and the whole place erupted, so that was a great moment personally. Especially, I killed Harold Ramis, so that's a treasured memory.
That's great. Do you still keep in contact with anybody on the cast?
Every now and then, Phyllis and I text or go back and forth. But I'm not in Hollywood anymore, so not so much. I just came in the grocery store all the time, but now that I don't live there, not so much.
Right. But yeah, that would make sense. Now, you did have Calvin Tenner, who was in the Dunder Mifflin warehouse. He was in your movie Dixter, correct?
Yes, sir. He was very funny in Dixter as the rather gay wardrobe man, and he's playing against type there. I'm pretty sure that he won't be getting cast as that very often, but he sure had a lot of fun playing it. There he is, Dick Dixter.
Yeah, handsome fella. So I watched Dick Dixter, and without spoiling it for those who haven't watched it yet, I was expecting a different type of redemption story at the end. It definitely took a twist where I wasn't expecting, and that's very rare.
The bad guy wins in the end. I mean, Dick wins. So that is sort of the state of Hollywood, right? I mean, Dick's a horrible human being. He's everything that Hollywood claims to hate, but indulges in every single day. And that's Dick in a nutshell. Although Dick is, actually talented. He is a dreamer. I mean, he lives for making movies, and so that's sort of the film came about as a result of my love for Peter O'Toole and the Stuntman. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but Peter O'Toole's the director, and he's, Peter O'Toole, he's brilliant. 12 seconds of film. So sort of that autocratic director was what I was originally thinking of. And then, I had so many friends who were B-movie directors who would spend 5 years between projects, and money would be there, and then it would fall out, and we would have it, we're making it, we're not, and you can't fight, and they kept going. So that's kind of me.
Oh, lost him again.
Well.
There we go. All right. Yep. There we go.
Where'd you go, Milo?
All right. Can you hear me? Nope. You can't hear me. Hello? No.
I'm back, Milo Beasley. I'm back.
All right. I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Yes, Milo, you're back.
All right.
I think when you brought up the Dixter graphic, all hell broke loose there.
I think so as well. I never trust Dixter.
Yeah, you're getting too fancy over there, buddy.
So, you're talking about, B-movie directors and not having, and being between films and not having budget, or then having budget. And, so what went into what was the inspiration behind making Dixter?
Well, I mean, I was walking down Hollywood and Vine one day, and I saw a star, and the actor's name was Richard Dix, D-I-X. He was an Academy Award winner from the 30s, Richard Dix. And I thought,
okay,
Dick Dix. That's a great name. That's a great name for a director. Dick Dix. So I kept thinking, okay, Dick Dix. And so I started writing. And I put it down, and then I read it again a year or so later, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is really funny. This director is funny because he's an animal. I mean, he's an animal. I mean, he's misogynistic. He's a gay fight. He's a gay basher. I mean, he's everything. He's drunk. He's drunk the whole movie. He never sets down a bottle of gin. He's either drinking from the bottle or from the glass or from both at the same time. That's what I was putting it. So you watch the movie, you can't drink. He's drunk the whole movie. It's fun to play drunk. I mean, it's not easy. I learned about that doing Tennessee Williams plays back in the day. I mean, you had to learn to play drunk and be convincing. I mean, there's nothing worse than somebody who's a fake drunk, especially on film.
Right.
I mean, look at Cage in Leaving Las Vegas. I mean, first of all, he was drunk. I wasn't drunk at Dixter. I was a little bit geeky, but I had enough of the mannerisms, the slurring,
It was good. It was believable.
It. I mean, he's hiding his drinking. They were making all these low-budget knockoff films, and we had done Mega Python versus Gatoroid with Tiffany and Debbie Gibson.
And Debbie Gibson,
right?
Yes.
I mean, so much fun. And maybe the funniest movie ever, really. Now, that's, I like to watch stuff by myself. And so I watched that alone at home, and I was dying of laughing. I should have told people with this because it was too funny. I mean, it's so absurd. What's the name of that outfit? Anyway, Mary Lambert directed that. She directed Pet Sematary. We had a hell of a director, And I mean, the biggest budget they ever had was making that movie. And so that's, it shows. But he was available, and he had his crew available, and so there was a window of opportunity, and we shot it in 6 days, and I went to work. I mean, I cut it and did all the work that goes to get it distributed, and it was a hell of a journey. I mean, really, my movie from start to finish, I cast it, I scored it, there's a bunch of credits I didn't take. Okay, it felt like I was taking too many as it was.
Right.
I mean, I was like, I don't need to take that credit, but it was me that did all that work. So But it was a labor.
Yeah. I've been there and done that with some folks where it's their name is literally on every piece of credit. So but yeah, so I enjoyed it. I thought like you said, the acting drunk, I thought that was pretty darn good. So I know, like you said, it's tough. So I definitely have to give you props for that.
Well, I mean, it's outlandish, but if you're in that world, which we did, and I mean, I was aided by some terrific actors. I mean, Tim Russ, seriously, Tim Russ, and Richard Grieco, and Tim Abel. I mean, these great actors, and the women were all just stunningly beautiful, and it was a treat to shoot everybody with full credits, but and so that makes a difference when the cast is having fun.
Right.
That fun finds its way into the film. And this is a quote from Harold Ramis, and he was talking about Caddyshack. And he said, the happiest day of your life is when you wrap the film, and then the worst day of your life is when you watch the first cut of it. And so when I watched the first cut of Dixter, it was 2 hours and 11 minutes, and I was like, oh no, what is this? It's horrible. I hated it. I hated it so bad.
Oh, wow.
I couldn't stand it. I mean, I went to bed. I was like, I failed. And then the next morning, I was up at 5 o'clock and I started cutting. And I turned it into 85 minutes and 87 minutes. But that's what you need in a comedy. Now it's good. Right. But it was, you have to shape it. You have to. I mean, there was stuff that was funny that just through the plot line. I mean, I wanted the movie to be fast. Everything's fast.
Right.
Fast, everything fast, and fast paced. And so that's what I did, and that's what I got. And what's the first line out of Dicker's mouth? You Hollywood. Are you back?
I don't know.
Are we back? I'm here.
All right. Yep. There you go. All right. I see you.
Can you hear me?
Yep. I hear you now.
No, I said the first line out of Dixter's mouth in the movie is F you Hollywood.
Oh.
The very first line he says. So that's the theme of the film.
Yeah, it is. It's a pretty apparent theme throughout the entire movie. Now, another movie that you did that we talked about a little bit, Psycho Cop Returns, Officer Joe Vickers. What a role that was. Now there's so many memorable lines. If you act like trash, you get treated like trash. You have the right to remain dead. What are some of your favorite lines from that you can remember?
Well, I can still do that monologue. You have the right to remain dead. Anything you say can will be considered extremely strange because you're dead. You have the right to. A lot of good to do you because you're dead. Are you even listening to me? You're not being very cooperative. I hate to kick a man when he's dead. Put up much of a fight.
It doesn't put up much of a fight. So good.
There's too many. There's more in that movie than all of Arnold Schwarzenegger's movies combined.
Do you get to do mini conventions and things like that? Any like horror conventions for Psycho Cop or pop culture conventions and meet the fans of The Office? Okay, yep.
No, I'm not traveling right now. I'm not interested in traveling. I went to San Antonio not too long ago, and that was a pain. And I mean, the traveling part of it's no fun.
Right.
So no, I don't plan on doing anytime soon.
All right. But I mean, you got the cameo going, which I love. Again, you said, being able to do the cameo as Officer Joe Vickers, doing, I'm sure, a ton of Bob Vance Refrigeration, cameos. I'm sure that's been a lot of fun for you as well.
I do most of it Bob Vance Refrigeration, mostly Office fans, There have been some cameos. Try it out, I can still do it. Did it the first time. The second time I did it again. No. A funny story was there was a screening of Psycho Cop Returns last year in Hollywood at a swank screening room. It was packed with film aficionados. The director was there, Adam Rifkin, and so was the director of Maniac Cop. And I'd never met him before. I'd never even seen Maniac Cop. And Adam Rifkin says, you know, this is William Lustig. He's the director of Maniac Cop. And I said, oh, Maniac Cop. I said, you know, for the last 25 years, you've been asking me who wins in the Maniac Cop or Psycho Cop. And Lustig looks at me, he goes, well, I go, you're looking at him. It was too good. It was too good. It was too easy, but it was too good.
I'm gonna side with Robert. I'm gonna side with you on this one and say Psycho Cop takes it.
You can't kill him. You can't kill him. He's dead. He's got satanic powers.
Right, like Michael Myers. You can't kill him.
Yeah, he's not dead. You can't kill him. I mean, both times he should have died, and he didn't. He's still here.
Do you see yourself writing or producing anymore in the future, or are you done with you know, the Hollywood type life?
Well, I'm not chasing it. I mean, if they came back and said, let's make some more episodes of The Office, I'd say, okay, how does that work? You know, we'll see if that's possible. And of course, that's rumored. You know, I mean, it's always rumored, but I mean, I don't see how it would work. But
right,
you know, they're willing to try. I'm sure. I mean, they're always desperate for content. No, I'm not chasing money to make things now. It's more for me, you know, the money to make something. I'd perhaps be interested in doing it, you know, because that artistic side of you never goes away. But I did, you know, I did everything. You know, I did a Christmas movie, and I did creature features, and I did bad guys and good guys, and I did them all. You know, I played all different ranges of roles. I was never stuck in playing one thing. And so, I mean, my greatest times were when I was on stage, you know, playing theater roles. I mean, that's my true love. I mean,
cool.
I know that sounds goofy. I mean, but that's the real power of acting, is when you're on the stage, it's just you sustain the role for, you know, an hour and a half or 2 hours, and you get the audience in your palm, and you own them. You know, I mean, that's the power, and that's what you try to achieve on film, but it's worse, and there's concentration that are involved in it, and you know, different you have different constraints on acting in film because of the medium, right? I mean, you can't be as big as you would be on stage with certain things. I mean, it's different levels of acting. You adjust accordingly. I mean, when I did a Disney kid show, I did Disney kid, you know, takes, and they kept nothing could be too big for these guys. You know, the bigger, the better. And you know, and there's ham in every actor waiting to get out. And so I let it rip, you know, and had a lot of fun doing it. But that's not how I did, you know, when I was playing a killer in a feature film. That's different discipline.
I think so. I like theater. I like people who do theater, because you have one take, you know, you have, and you're giving your best, you know, in that one take, and there's not, oh, let's redo it. Let's, you know, so I find theater to be super pure when it comes to acting.
Yeah, no, it's true. It requires a level of bravery. The best part is always in the wings, right before you go out and you're trying to go. Am I remembering the sequence correctly? When do I say this? And they'll go, after Act 2, in the middle of Act 3. And you're like, okay, I got it. And then you go out and you trust all the time that you put in rehearsing it and learning it and understanding it. You know, I mean, it's you go on a journey with it, you know. And I used to think to myself, how did Yul Brynner play the King and I as many times as he did? Because he was known for that role, and he left it for a while, and then years later he went back to it, right? He'd said, "No, I'm done with it. I'm not going to do it anymore." And he had done thousands of performances, And so at that point, it's just, you're putting on warm slippers.
Right.
It's not like you're trying new stuff out. You're out of options, after a couple of years of it anyway. So, but he went back to it, and I realized, it's just the love of the thing, because every night's different.
Absolutely.
You may think how it's going to go, but it never goes that way ever.
No, it never goes the way you think. You can, like you said, you could do it 1,000 times, and it's never going to go the way you expect it to.
But that's the part that the audience is willing to go into a dark room and share these emotions with you, and that's what makes it good or real or have value. And it's had value for thousands of years. I mean, film's only been around 100 years. I mean, theater's been around thousands of years. So there's a reason people have always gone to that. So it's a noble profession, especially if you honor it. And it's not easy. There's a huge discrepancy in talent levels. What passes for acting, and what's really just people who look good on camera. Those are two different things.
Right. A thing I want to do now is called the Milo Beasley Show Frequently Asked Questions, where I'm going to ask you the same 5 questions that I ask all my guests on the show. There's no wrong answers. So just the first thing that comes to your mind. Are you ready?
Sure.
All right. Question number 1. Who was your first celebrity crush?
She was on Charlie's Angels. The dark-haired girl in Charlie's Angels, Kate. What's her last name? Kate.
I'm blanking now too.
Farrah Fawcett, Kate.
Yep.
She was, and then years later, I was in this driving range one morning, and there she was in the stall next to me.
What?
Yes, in Studio City. She was in the stall next to me. I'm like, well, hello.
What are the chances?
How do you do? I was a pretty good golfer.
Got the show off.
Kate, what's her last name? She was married to Andrew Stevens. I mean, whenever I was around Andrew Stevens, I was always trying to get information. Like, what happened?
Right.
How did you get so lucky and then screw it up so bad? Kate Jackson is her name. Kate Jackson.
Okay.
That was my first celebrity.
Yes, Kate Jackson. All right. Question number 2. What is your guilty pleasure song? So what song do you just absolutely love, despite what others might think about it?
AC/DC, it's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll.
It's a good one. Nobody's given me that answer yet, so I like it. I like it a lot.
I'm an AC/DC guy. There's no better rock and roll guys than those guys.
Are they still touring, or are they?
No, I mean, I saw their very first American tour, and then I saw them years later in the Forum, and it was, I mean, they were powerful both times, but I mean, the second time, the volume level, your ears rang for 3 or 4 days afterwards. I mean, they just tore it down.
Probably still feeling the effects.
Yeah, right, no, that's so a rock and roll band right there.
This is if you had to. If you had to, do you think you could beat 1 giant duck or 100 tiny horses? So if you were being attacked, would you rather fight a giant duck or 100 tiny horses?
Giant duck. 100 tiny horses. That's 400. That's 400 hoofs. I mean, there's no way you win that. But 1 giant duck, I can get into his eyes, and it's game over.
It's true. I've never thought about 400 hooves. Anybody who I've ever asked this question, nobody has ever mentioned it like that.
Huh. Well, if you've ever watched wild stallions fight, they're serious animals when they get after it. I mean, they fight over who's going to get to brood the mares. and those fights are for real. I mean, and they're biting and kicking and hoofing each other. I mean, it's full on. I mean, they make those Kodiak bears look like simpletons.
Our next question. This doesn't have to be one of yours, but what is your favorite movie quote?
It is one of mine, of course. And
Okay.
I get to swear on this one. Swearing's okay on the show?
Absolutely. It's the internet.
It's a sick fucking world. Joe Vickers.
Joe Vickers. God, he has so many good ones, man.
This man, oh man, it's a sick fucking world. That quote I say all the time, and I always tell people, listen, I hate to quote myself, but I'm gonna.
I mean, but when you have, again, like you said, there's more quotable lines than the Terminator. So how do you get tired of that?
Well, it's been years. I mean, it's been 2 years since I saw it. We saw it in that screening in Hollywood. I hadn't seen it. It's not something I watch. I mean, I remember.
Right.
I remember quite a bit of my lines. I mean, the good ones. I mean, you remember. I mean, there's some monologues I remember. I don't know why I remember them, but I just like those lines.
All right, and then our last question is going to be a fill in the blank. If blank was an Olympic sport, I would win a gold medal.
Listen, I would win a gold medal. Well, I can't answer that. I mean, if having bronze balls was an Olympic sport, I would win a gold medal. Yeah, I'll go with that.
Yeah, actually, and I want to talk about. I hate to say it this way, but I want to talk about your balls. In Dixter, you got hit so many times. Was there ever an accidental contact?
No. We were very careful. I mean, it was funny. I mean, I hired the little guy just because he first I'd done a movie with him. And he was hysterical, Pancho Moeller, and he later has done some horror films with that Rob Zombie and those guys.
Right.
Good little actor. But I hired him just because I thought, this guy punching me in the nuts is funny. I mean, he's at the right level. So when we were cutting that scene, I kept telling the editor, I was like, no, this thing I want to go on. I don't want to trim this scene. I want this to go on longer. And in fact, let's make sure that we put a sound effect in there that we hear the hitting of the balls. I want a good sound effect there. And he kept fighting me on that. I mean, that whole scene was a fight. And then finally I got it where I wanted it. And, it's just funny. We kick him like 6 or 7 times in the nuts. And that's kind of the point of it. Finally the last time he's like, never kick Dixter in the nuts.
I was like,
to you.
As I watched it, I got worried for you.
Yeah, of course, naturally, can this guy reproduce? But Dick's really not horny, I mean, he's surrounded by all these beautiful women, but he's unable to perform. I mean, he's just faking it. That's what he's interested in, but he can't do it. He knows he can't. But I turned to the director and I said, have we gone to this one too many times? He's like, yeah, I think so. And I'm like, let's do it again. The last bit, I mean, we have him tied up on the table there, and his nuts are about to be cut off. I mean, they say to him, "We're gonna cut the nuts off here," and that's when he still won't back down. I mean, he still refuses to apologize at that point.
Right.
And that was kind of a ripoff of that film Hard Candy. Did you ever see Hard Candy?
Oh yes, Hard Candy. With,
Page,
the girl.
The girl's a guy, Ellen Page.
Yes, Ellen Page. Yes.
Yeah, and Patrick Wilson was the child molester in that film, and so the scene where he's tied down to a sterile steel table without his shorts and pants on, and she's standing there with a scalpel. That scene goes on for about 15 minutes, and that may be the most horrifying 15 minutes in the history of cinema if you're a dude watching that, because I kept going, I can't watch this. And then I would turn it off, and then I would turn back to it, and there she'd be, with the scalpel, and you're like, oh man, this is hard to watch. Because he deserved it.
Right. No, 100%.
Yeah. I mean, but you still, you're feeling the cut there from the scalpel. So, I was kind of trying to do that gig, but
right.
We had so much going on in that last scene that I couldn't focus on that. I just had to
right.
get out of there.
Well, again, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me tonight. I truly appreciate it. Again, huge Office fan, and I know there's so many people out there that are big Office fans that still, when they hear Bob, they can't. It's impossible to just say Bob Vance.
That's true. I bought another hat. I'm the leading collector of Bob Vance Refrigeration memorabilia in the world. I mean, there's tons of it. It's ridiculous how much stuff there is. And I have to keep buying it. Every time there's a new design, I have to have it. So it's a compulsion. My closet's full of that scrap. And this guy on the Instagram, he manufactures the hat, and he saw that I ordered one. He's like, oh, let me send you that hat. Let me send you this other hat. Will you send a picture to me? And I said, oh yeah, I'll be happy to send you the picture. And he said, well, this hat, we just came out with it, and it's our #1 seller. And I'm like, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Vance Refrigeration hat, #1 seller. I'm into that. I like that. Yeah. I mean, that works for me.
Again, don't mean to blow smoke up your butt, but the way you played the character, I think was just perfect. I think you knocked it out of the park. I don't think Bob Vance could have been any better than what you performed.
What I say, Milo, is I got the most out of the least. I did what I did with my opportunities, and that's what it was. I did what I did. And, the trajectory of this show, the life of this show has been phenomenal. Nothing in television's never existed like it. I mean, it got bigger after we were off the air than it was when we were on. I mean, we never won Thursday night. We lost to Grey's Anatomy every single Thursday night. We were in the 50s in the ratings. We averaged 10 million viewers. I mean, we were no Seinfeld. We weren't a big runaway hit. It's when we got on Netflix. And, I went and signed autographs at the Scranton ball field one time. And there were all these kids, 12, 13-year-old kids in line. I signed autographs for 7 innings, and they were all walking up to me, and they were like, we binge watched the show, and I didn't even know what that was. And I'm like, when did our audience turn into 12 and 13-year-old kids? Because when we were on air, it was 40-year-olds with an income of $100,000 plus. That's what made the show. And so, watch how that thing grew, and, how it's changed. I've been saying Bob Vance Refrigeration for 16 years now.
Wow.
So that's a long time to say that phrase. The thing that drives me crazy is people put a D in there. There's no D in refrigeration. Think about it. How many times have I written that? Oh my God. If I could only get $1 for every time I've written that in the last 16 years.
Oh, I can imagine. Again, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. I truly enjoyed it. And again, thank you for sharing the legend of Dick Dixter with me. And I'm glad we were able to talk about Psycho Cop. Glad we were able to talk about The Office. And again, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me.
Thank you, Milo. Milo. So play. I know how to say it. Play that catchy outro song now.
My outro song isn't that catchy. So, but thank you all for watching, and we'll see you guys next week. Here's my outro.